Good afternoon. My name is Kyle Strauss, and currently I am a junior at the Atlantic County Institute of Technology, where I am studying engineering and one day hope to become an environmental engineer. Engineering is something that I picked up on my own. I first became interested in wind power and energy this past summer, after attending many educational and informative events throughout our great state. Hearing Governor Murphy's agenda for New Jersey, including his commitment to building a green economy and protecting our environment, was a message I strongly supported and that resonated with me. For me, as a member of the younger generation, I am extremely concerned about the effects of climate change and the impact global warming will have on our future. Wind power offers a sustainable option in the pursuit of renewable energy. It is the way of the future and the direction kids of my generation prefer to head towards. I am grateful to have teachers like Ms. Hagan, who have taken the time to teach me everything I know about engineering. I hope that I am able to pass on this knowledge that I have learned to my younger brothers, other students, and the generation below me. By 2050, I am hoping that we will all be living in a different America. This America will have 100% clean energy, and we will be further along in our efforts to combat climate change. Our technology will have shifted. We will have tackled all sources of greenhouse gas emissions and increased energy efficiency. I know Governor Murphy will be a strong champion in promoting cleaner sources of electricity and growing the wind power sector. Thank you for inviting me here today to share my passion with you. I would now like to introduce Governor Phil Murphy.
Thank you, man. Great job. I haven't run this idea past Steve, but you speak like that, Kyle, and you present yourself like that, we ought to be worried about our positions. That was really impressive. Good morning, everybody. It's great to be in Atlantic City. Kyle, your parents are here, right? Brad and Joanne, where are you? Can you raise your hands? Done a heck of a job here, so honored to have you with us. Really honored to be here today. Particular treat not just to have the First Lady on my right, but the Senate President Steve Sweeney with us today. A whole passel of elected officials, Chairman Berzicelli here in the front row, our host, Senator Chris Brown, Assemblyman Vince Mazzio, and John Armato, the mayor, the newly minted mayor of Atlantic City, Frank Gilliam, our friend, freeholders, members of council. It's a real treat to be here today. Kyle, again, thank you. Extraordinary job. It is my hope that growing our innovation economy will be what allows you to keep your talents here in New Jersey. So that different future that we're going to is going to be right here, and our future is riding on you and the other brothers and sisters in your generation. Today has been a long time coming. Steve and I were talking about this back. This is, in the immortal Yogi Berra words, this is deja vu all over again. Well, this time we're going to get it right. 7.5 years ago, Governor Christie signed into law what was to be a revolutionary policy for getting New Jersey to run on offshore wind energy, the Offshore Wind Economic Development Act. That was a bipartisan effort led by the Senate President, Minority Leader Tom Kean, Senator Tom Kean. John Berzicelli was right there, Assemblyman at the time, and he's not here, I don't think, but Assemblyman John McKeon. So it's both sides of the aisle and great leadership, as well as our late friend and champion of our shore, Senator Jim Whalen, who was right there as always. It was supposed to kickstart not just an era of New Jersey generating offshore wind power, but also of creating an entirely new energy industry sector right here in New Jersey. It was to make New Jersey a true leader in offshore wind and the first state to harness offshore wind at scale to benefit its residents. And I have to say a particular shout out there. Clearly, I see Jeff and other environmental advocates and leaders here, but we also have organized labor in the House. And this would have been, and I promise you it will be, a big game changer in our economy writ large, including creating the sort of jobs we need to create in this state. We knew what was at stake: the promise of enough power to feed the homes of millions of New Jerseyans, thousands, as I mentioned, of good-paying new union jobs in a growing technology, and economic sector, and a field New Jersey could dominate and lead the nation. In short, everything we needed to create a stronger and fairer economy. But those dreams have been left unfulfilled as other states leapfrogged us. Our chance to lead turned yet again into a game of catch-up. We just had a round table with a lot of the interests, labor, developers, manufacturers, community interests on this. We were just having this conversation. I think it's fair to say Maryland literally took what you guys had championed word for word and ripped it off. We were just discussing this at the round table, and Steve and I were discussing it just before he came out here. There is tremendous urgency in our need to act. Climate change remains an existential threat for countless families, businesses, and communities, particularly, not limited to, but particularly along the shore. Residents want more diversified sources of energy that are reliable, yet also sustainable. And importantly, the entrepreneurs and leaders who have been waiting since 2010 to make offshore wind a reality in New Jersey need to know we haven't given up on their vision of a cleaner energy future. So today, New Jersey will end the nearly 8 years of stalling and stonewalling. In a few moments, I will have the honor of signing an executive order requiring the State Department of Environmental Protection, whose acting commissioner, and God willing soon to be confirmed, Catherine McCabe, fresh off her birthday, is with us today, and the Board of Public Utilities. Joe Fiordaliso, the chair, is not with us today. He's actually chairing a BPU meeting that will ask the two of them and their teams to finally and fully implement the 2010 Offshore Wind Economic Development Act. The status quo that has stifled development ends now. New Jersey will lead again, and our goal must be to generate 3,500 megawatts of offshore wind energy, enough to power nearly 1.5 million homes by the year 2030. And frankly, that's not terribly far from now. That's 12 short years from now. And we're going to create the good jobs, good union jobs that haven't been created over these past 8 years of inaction. Clean energy and good jobs. This is how we make our economy stronger and fairer. As with many things we're trying to do early in our administration, as much as we wish and as hard as we may try, we can't fix things overnight. But the days of political delay are over. 2030 is only a dozen years away, and we have a lot to do, so we better get to it. And surely as the breezes blow at the Jersey shore, we're going to get this done. New Jersey's future depends on our finding new and innovative ways to power our homes and businesses. We have long known the benefits of harnessing our coastal winds, but we've simply lacked the political will to do it, or we allowed, alternatively, our political will to be hijacked by others. I just see the county executive here. Danny, I didn't see you there earlier. Nice to have you with us. So I say we lead again. Only a few months before our friend Senator Whalen left us, he was asked about the future of offshore wind energy. His response spoke of the opportunity lost, and I quote Jim, "New Jersey would have become a hub for offshore wind up and down the Atlantic coast. Unfortunately, I don't think the governor shared that vision." End of quote. I'm happy to say, as I look up to heaven, Jim, this governor does. And speaking of governors, I had a conversation with Jerry Brown a month or so ago between getting elected and being inaugurated, and I said, "Governor, our hope is that New Jersey," and I was thinking first and foremost here of wind, that New Jersey would become the California of the East Coast. And one of my Jersey friends said, "You didn't show enough attitude, Murph. You should have said, someday soon, California is going to be referred to as the New Jersey of the West Coast." It is now my honor to introduce our First Lady, Tammy Snyder Murphy. Come on down.
Okay. Thank you. You getting ready to jump in? Okay. Thank you, Phil, and thank you to all of the advocates and the lawmakers, and Kyle, and thank you to Atlantic City for hosting us today. If we ever question the appetite of
Oh,
Woo.
sorry.
of New Jerseyans for clean and sustainable.
Please know that we'll do the offshore wind thing better than the duct tape that we did today.
So if we ever question the appetite of New Jerseyans for clean and sustainable offshore wind energy, let's just consider this. The turbines just outside, which stand and welcome people to Atlantic City, have become on their own a tourist destination. People don't visit a place unless it sparks something in them, because they want to learn more or because they want to dream about larger possibilities. But they're doing it here, and have since these turbines first rose up out of the salt marshes in 2006. The time is now, however, for us to transform wind energy from a tourist curiosity to something that will benefit all the residents of New Jersey. Today is more than just a promise kept. It's about taking a huge step forward. We have long known the capabilities of our offshore winds to deliver clean and reliable energy to millions of New Jersey households. We also had the groups willing to prove that sustainable energy and good jobs could be created if we simply allowed ourselves to think big again. But we lost our leadership for no conceivably good reason. This action also directly ties to our reentry into the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. Combating climate change is an everybody in the pool moment. Reducing our carbon footprint means empowering innovation to harness the natural power of the sun and the wind. This is just a start. We know there's still a lot to do until we can flip a light switch onshore and get power generated miles offshore. We're nearly 8 years too late in getting to this point. We've wasted enough time, and in the fight against climate change, every day lost is a wasted chance. But now we can seize on this and bring our state back to the position of leadership where we know we belong. I look forward to working with so many of you in this room over the coming months as we move forward and make the vision a reality. It is now my pleasure to introduce a friend and a great leader for our state. I don't think he needs an introduction, but ladies and gentlemen, Senate President Steve Sweeney.
Yeah.
Thank you. Governor, she does it better than you,
That's
introductions, just so you know. I just want to thank Governor Murphy. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this action you're taking today. 8 years ago, John and I, and others, passed a bill because we saw the industry of the future, an industry that we wanted to capture, not just placing windmills out on the ocean, but the manufacturing piece of the windmills. And it's been extremely frustrating because back in 2010, in this conversation I had with the Governor and First Lady, there was a convention here in Atlantic City from all over the world. 1,700 people were here. And people were talking about what we had done as the model to make this happen. And to sit here for 8 years and watch, and with frustration watching Maryland copy our bill, which I guess we should be flattered.
Yeah, I guess so.
But copied our bill and is moving on. But it's not too late for New Jersey. We have location. That is the key on this issue. They're talking windmills from Virginia to Maine. We're right in the middle of it. We built a port in Paulsboro. There are opportunities on the coast in a couple different locations where we could assemble these. So we have a great opportunity to capture not just the windmills and the clean energy, which is critically important, but an industry to create commerce in the state, Governor. Absolutely. What you're doing here today is really, like I said, it's been 8 years of torture, and in a couple minutes, we're going to jump from the back to the front again because we're location, and we're ready. Amen. We're already ready for it. Everything's in place. So, Governor, thank you so much for undoing something that we kept saying. It doesn't take 8 years to do regulations. No matter how hard you want to explain it, you know, it is what it is. Yep. Now we get to move forward. So, Governor, thank you. First Lady, thank you also. It's a great day for New Jersey. Amen. And we're going to go chase these windmill manufacturers now.
Amen to that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senate President. Well done, Steve. Take a couple of questions, is that okay? We'll take a couple of questions, Danny, is that okay?
Governor?
Sir.
Since we're in Atlantic City, I was wondering if you still plan to end the state takeover. You said you would on the campaign trail. And if so, if there's like any sort of timeline as far as when that could be done.
Listen, I'm looking forward to sitting with the mayor this afternoon. Atlantic City needs a full-bore partner in the state, period, full stop. I've never said otherwise. It's arguably the most unique community in our state when you compare the amount of residents with the amount of folks who visit here. I was never a fan of the over-the-top big-footing. I want to think much more in the sense of a partnership, and we will be a partner. And I think it's something sooner than later. We're only 15 days in, but please bear with us. Please.
You know, some shore owners have voiced concern about the windmills, you know, blocking their view. What do you have to say to the opposition?
Yeah, I mean,
They're not going to say it.
yeah, I mean, I've seen the renderings.
You won't say it.
You barely, it's a speck on the horizon, if anything,
It's
right?
15 miles off the
Yeah.
coast. If you can see 15 miles away, I'm going to find out what you've been eating because I got to fix my eyes or smoking.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, another direction we're headed.
I took the chance.
Exactly. Listen, I don't want to engender any football questions, but they had a huge debate about this in Massachusetts. I don't anticipate that debate here. These are way offshore, and I don't think it's going to be an issue. Please.
Governor, since you're in South Jersey, let me pose this question to you. In terms of your push for a $15 an hour minimum wage, there's been some discussion in some circles that perhaps the farm community might be exempt from that.
Yeah.
Where do you come down on that?
Well, I've been, as I've said before, historically for a clean shot, but it's something conceptually only that we've spoken about. When I say we, Senate President, Majority Leader, the Speaker, the Majority Leader in the Assembly, and our team, we've had good discussions, but we're still at the conceptual level. The great news is, as Steve has said many times, we're about 98% overlap, and that includes getting minimum wage in the state to $15 an hour. David, and I got it right.
The Department of Justice just announced that they're seeking to drop all the indictments against Senator Menendez. Comment?
Just heard it, walking in here. You know, I would just reiterate what I've said whenever I've been asked. I think the Senate President has said the same thing. Everyone in this country has a right to the full extent of our justice system, and we shouldn't spend 1 second speculating. And this is another good example that would have been a waste of time.
Governor, what size projects do you envision need to be out there for these offshore projects to make them economically viable?
Well, and I'll defer to the Senate President or others here. Okay. Our overall goal has been 3,500 megawatts by the year 2030. Rhode Island has got, unfortunately, Rhode Island beat us too, not just Maryland.
Block Island, yeah.
At Block Island. They've got a much smaller operation. We just had this roundtable. It was a strong sense of the group in the room, I think to the other folks who were in there, that we should come out of the blocks with a big first step RFP. Is that fair, Catherine? Someone said maybe something around 1,100. I'm not married to a particular number, but I'll add to that, please.
And just to add to what the governor's saying, Phil, you got to understand technology is continuing to improve.
Yep.
And the turbines, megawatts, what they can generate are getting larger. So the good news is the turbines are getting bigger, which means costs will come down and you won't need as many. It's going to be a very good thing going forward.
Yeah. Amen to that. The other point I'd make, which is a reiteration of what Steve said earlier, the more scale, the more, and by the way, 3,500 megawatts I think would make us the #1 aspirational offshore wind field in the world. The more scale and reliability and predictability that you can come up with earlier on, the better shot you'll get to attract what Steve was talking about, which is not just installing them, but having a real shot at getting stuff manufactured here. Maybe one more, please.
Governor, thank you for coming here today. And Atlantic County, as you know, is in a technological transition. We are trying to become just the press. I apologize.
I didn't say that, but let's grab a minute after it. Does that sound right?
That sounds
Good to see you, by the way. Dustin, you are with the press, are you not?
As far as I know. Yeah, you never know. I'm curious since
you and the Senate President together. Have you guys been able to talk about the Senate President's suggestion about blowing up our system, not raising any new taxes? Where do you guys stand?
No, I will give one answer to that, and Steve may want to add, and then I wanted to say one thing before we break. So the answer is we haven't, but I said when I was asked this the other day, who, particularly with what Trump is doing to us and what the Republican leadership in Congress is doing to us, who could argue with anybody saying enough already? Let's try to figure out a creative way to achieve that stronger and fairer economy. So we haven't specifically spoken about that, but I think you're going to find that more often than not, way more often than not, we're born under the same star. Yeah. Is that fair?
And I agree with the governor. And I know you guys really want to write stories on how we don't get along, but we do. And we're going to continue to get along, and we're going to put, as someone said before, we're going to score touchdowns.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to get a lot of things done in this state. And, you know, no one's always aligned, but we are so closely aligned on so many issues. We're going to get things done.
Amen. I want to, if I may, just point of personal privilege, conclude. I got asked about the Justice Department, but I want to say something that was sort of, you know, let's not speculate on the outcome, but I want to say something I suspect a lot of us here feel very strongly. The notion to have two extraordinary senators in this state, unencumbered, 1,000% focused on pushing forth